Welcome to Showoff Showdown! In this series, the fighters are called Showoffs, and this is the series for the Showoff Showdown! Now let's meet the Showoffs for tonight's showdown, shall we? Tonight, it's the Showoff Showdown Halloween Special! And we have a battle between two spooky, scary skeleton warriors! That's right, Sir Daniel Fortesque versus Chop Chop! Which of these two skeletal fighters will bone the other first? Well, let's find out. I put links to the analysis on both characters in the description below. Now without further ado, it's time for the Showoff Showdown!
Get ready for the next battle.
You have trespassed into the sacred realm of Arcus. State your name and your business here. I cannot understand a single word you are saying. Now leave and never return, or you shall face the consequences. Very well, if you wish to seal your fate. How dare you!
The true victor never gives up. Battle 3. Fight! Ring out. The battle 4. Fight! Victory belongs to the last one standing.
Well, you know what they say. Sticks and stones won't break my bones, but Chop Chop's blade can break Sir Daniel's. Yeah, I could have said that better.
Anyway, let's discuss how and why Chop Chop wins the spooky, scary skeletal showdown. First off, let's discuss who is more skilled and experienced. Now, Sir Daniel died at age 36, and he is now currently 636 years old, although most of that time he kinda spends sleeping like the dead, both figuratively and literally. Now on the other hand, Chop Chop is an ancient, undead Archean warrior. The Archean robot race was said to have lived over 10,000 years ago, and because Chop Chop is a member of the Archean race, he has most likely been around that long. Even after the Archean robot empire was destroyed, Chop Chop continued to roam and fight throughout all that time. So when it comes to experience, I think it's safe to say that Chop Chop definitely has the edge here. Now when it comes to fighting skill, Sir Daniel and Chop Chop are both very skilled warriors, swordsmen, and heroic fighters in general, so I think it's safe to say that Sir Daniel and Chop Chop are both skilled enough to roughly match each other in close combat. Now let's discuss speed. Now Sir Daniel is fast enough to outrun explosions and dodge sniper bullets, but Chop Chop is able to block and dodge the exact same sort of things. So Sir Daniel and Chop Chop should be pretty evenly matched when it comes to speed as well. Now let's discuss strength. Now both fighters are surprisingly strong for such bony skeletons. Sir Daniel may be strong enough to handle dragons and create small shockwaves with his hammer, but Chop Chop is so strong that his strength actually rivals that of Spyro. Regardless of which form or series, Chop Chop has always rivaled Spyro's strength since the first game. Now the classic Spyro is strong enough to break through 10 meters of solid granite, which means he can strike with over 8,000 tons of force, and yet classic Spyro is the weakest incarnation of Spyro. But even if we lowball Chop Chop's strength all the way down to classic Spyro's level, Chop Chop would still have a clear strength advantage over Sir Daniel. Now let's discuss durability. Now Sir Daniel does have very good durability, as he once tanked a 100-foot drop without a scratch, and he got flung out of a catapult and shot out of a cannon filled with several barrels of gunpowder, and he was perfectly fine. No doubt that's very impressive. Now on the other hand, Chop Chop has one of the highest armor and durability levels of all Skylanders. In fact, not only can Chop Chop tank much larger falls and explosions than Sir Daniel can, but Chop Chop can even survive getting pummeled and or crushed by giant Archean robots and the Titans. So I think it's safe to say that Chop Chop can definitely take a lot more abuse than Sir Daniel can. Now let's discuss feats. Now Sir Daniel and Chop Chop have both faced very similar foes within their games, such as the undead, giant monsters, robots, demons, evil wizards, etc. But as you would have guessed, Chop Chop has faced much greater and more dangerous threats than Sir Daniel has. Now last, but definitely not least, let's discuss their weaponry. Now it is true that Sir Daniel has a much larger arsenal of many different weapons, including long-range weapons, but the downside to that is just about all of Sir Daniel's weapons can get lost or stolen, while Chop Chop's blade cannot. Speaking of which, Chop Chop wields a very special blade and shield, both forged by the Archeans. And believe it or not, Chop Chop's sword and shield were said to be made of an indestructible metal. Hey, don't ask me. I'm just telling you what his backstory said. I'm not the one who wrote it. Anyway, despite Sir Daniel's very wide and useful arsenal, sadly, none of his weapons are capable of breaking Chop Chop's. Now, Sir Daniel's strongest shield is known as the Golden Shield, but it can still break if taken enough damage. And his most powerful sword is known as Wooden's Bane, but he needs 2 hands to wield it, so he can't use his shield while wielding it. Besides, not only can it be stolen just like his other weapons, but it still wouldn't be enough to counter Chop Chop's blade, since it was stated to be unbreakable. Now, even if Sir Daniel uses the Anubis Stone to raise the Knights of Gallowmere from the dead, it still wouldn't be enough. In fact, Chop Chop has once faced evil clones of himself before, so he should have no problem fighting Sir Daniel's comrades. Not to mention, Sir Daniel has to sacrifice some of his own health if he wants to heal his army. Now, you could make the argument that the Anubis Stone could slowly drain Chop Chop's life force if he's in close range of it, but Chop Chop has actually faced arena challenges where his health continuously drains, and he has to defeat all of the enemies in the ring before his health meter runs out. So therefore, this should be nothing new to Chop Chop. Anyway, not only can Chop Chop's blade match and counter pretty much all of Sir Daniel's weapons, but Chop Chop's shield is also capable of blocking and deflecting pretty much everything Sir Daniel has to throw at him. But that's not all his shield can do. You know how in Power Rangers, the Megazord's power sword can absorb incoming energy and turn it against the attacker? Well, believe it or not, Chop Chop's shield can actually do something pretty similar. If you land attacks on Chop Chop's shield while it's raised, the shield actually absorbs the damage and then turns it against the attacker with the shield bash ability. So this means that if Sir Daniel repeatedly lands attacks on Chop Chop's shield, then Chop Chop will essentially turn Sir Daniel's own striking power against him with just a single shield bash. In fact, if Chop Chop's shield has absorbed enough damage from Sir Daniel, and Chop Chop decides to unleash his mega shield bash attack, then Sir Daniel is going to get struck by the full force of not only Chop Chop's strength, but also his own strength combined, which should definitely be enough raw force to shatter Sir Daniel's bony body like glass. Or Chop Chop could just use his Twin Blade Wow Pow attack to slice and dice Sir Daniel into a million pieces faster than the blink of an eye. Even though the attack takes about 5 seconds to charge up, it'll still work. Oh, and not to mention, I'd like to point out that Sir Daniel can be a little bit of a coward despite his brave and valiant efforts, while on the other hand, Chop Chop is a determined, relentless, and courageous hardcore warrior who knows no fear and never backs from a fight, no matter how dangerous the threat is. Plus the fact that Chop Chop can be pretty intimidating could make things a little bit harder for Sir Daniel from an emotional standpoint. So overall, while Sir Daniel and Chop Chop are roughly evenly matched when it comes to speed and fighting skill, and Sir Daniel may have a long range advantage along with a much wider arsenal of weapons, but Chop Chop has many other significant advantages over Sir Daniel, and he does have what it takes to get the job done. So in the end, Sir Daniel got Fortesque skewered. The winner of this battle is Chop Chop. Okay, now I know this is like the third Skylanders fight in a row, and I was gonna try and cut back on Skylanders fights after I finished Knuckles vs. Terrafin, but then I realized that Halloween was coming up, and I thought this match would be perfect for a Halloween special. Now if you guys want to break this line of Skylanders fights in a row, then let me know what kinds of non-Skylanders ideas you have in the comments below. But if you don't have a problem with a consistent number of Skylanders fights, then that's fine. It's up to you. Oh, and P.S. Sorry for the jump scare. I couldn't resist. It is a Halloween special after all. Either way, happy Halloween!
Got any ideas for Showoff Showdown? Then let me know in the comments below. And hopefully, I just might do them. Now stay tuned for the next episode of Showoff Showdown!